to the Afterthoughts podcast. This is our recommend or review.
That's right. Lay on that or.
So I'm gonna to really emphasize it every single time.
We will not
You
be
have
doing
the
both.
choice. Not both. You
John.
must
Wailing
make a
at me.
choice. So, Post for Refresh is the episode where we recommend or refute something we recently watched. And joining me is our usual cast. I have Michael Dixon with us
What's up? Excited to hear what you guys watched this week.
and John Garcia.
Hey, I'm bringing the schlock again, baby.
All right.
John, this podcast is an intervention. We've come here to
Yeah.
tell you about the ways that your schlock addiction has hurt us as your friends.
We've decided to refute everything.
I'm actually spinning off the podcast to something I call After Schlock.
Oh, God.
It's actually me just there's no microphone. I'm just in a dumpster yelling at people about movies they should watch. I don't know.
But you can say after schlock is what you watch after the schlock movie to come back to reality.
Yes, it's a chaser, obviously.
Yeah, you have to undo everything. All right, well, getting into it. Dixon, what have you watched this week?
Yeah, so I watched the big blockbuster movie that came out this week. Trying to mix things up instead of talking about a random independent film that I saw. I watched Spider-Man: Across the Spider-Verse.
My name is Miles Morales. I'm Brooklyn's one and only Spider-Man. And things are going great.
Oh yeah, you were supposed to be here at 5.
All right, whatever.
Whatever.
Wow.
Whatever?
Miles, want to get out of here?
Oh, Gwen? So wait a minute. There's an elite crew with all the best spider people in it? What's a guy got to do to join this spider team?
You can never be part of this.
Can't stop me now!
You can't run forever, kid!
I can't lose one more friend.
Miguel, this isn't what we talked about!
You knew?
I have no idea what you're doing! All stations, stop Spider-Man!
One of the weirdest grammatical titles. But I was a big fan of Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse and decided to watch the sequel this week. I rewatched Into the Spider-Verse a few days ago, and I always kind of go back and forth, shocker to you guys, you're not going to believe this. I'm not the biggest fan of superhero movies, but I've always kind of gone back and forth on whether Into the Spider-Verse or Batman Begins is my favorite superhero movie. I think those are kind of clearly the top two for me. And I rewatched Into the Spider-Verse and really enjoyed it. I felt like on a rewatch, I think I had seen it in theaters and maybe hadn't seen it since it's been, probably 5 years since I've seen it. I felt like the story was a little bit weaker on a rewatch, and the visuals are so stunning and it moves so fast and it's so just electric that it really gets you through the first watch. And then I feel like it's a little bit slightly less rewatchable. Like I downgraded it like half a star on Letterboxd when I watched it this time. It's still excellent. It's very good. Across the Spider-Verse, I felt pretty similarly about. I think it's a hair worse than Into the Spider-Verse, but still very, very good. The animation is fucking stunning. It looks absolutely incredible. It's moving a mile a minute. All kinds of stuff going on. It does not have Nicolas Cage as Noir Spider-Man, which is very upsetting. It doesn't have Spider-Ham either, which so some of the most memorable side characters from the first one are not in this one. It still focuses on Miles Morales, who is now kind of coming into his own. In the first movie, he's a teenager and he is still kind of trying to figure his shit out, and he doesn't really know how to use his spider powers very well. In this movie, he's kind of really got it down. He's come into his own. He is, holding down Brooklyn very well as the Spider-Man of his universe. But he's very lonely, and he can't really tell anybody that he's Spider-Man, and he's just kind of like a mopey teenager who draws Gwen a lot because he misses her from the first one.
That's healthy. That's healthy.
Yeah, very, very, very healthy. He, kind of has these villains of the week that come by, and he has to fight them off while making sure to go to school and please his parents and all these things. And I think one of the reasons that Spider-Man seems to resonate with people. You know, like I'm always amazed at how much money these Spider-Man movies make. Like not the good Spider-Verse ones, but like the shitty like Tom Holland ones. Actually, you know, they make fucking absurd amounts of money. I think it's because the story is basically about puberty, you know, and it's just like a relatable story about a teenager who is going through changes, who is having trouble communicating with his parents, shooting goo all over the place.
We're talking about the
Uh,
Tom Holland ones or the Tobey Maguire ones, because that Sam Raimi is a little on the nose.
I actually haven't seen any of the live action ones since the Tobey Maguire ones. Spider-Man 3 was so bad that I just like I never went back to any of the live action ones since then. But yeah, I mean, I think the story of Miles is compelling and it kind of drives the story. You also get more into Gwen's background. You spend some time in her universe and learn about her story a little bit. Miles is kind of going throughout his life. He encounters this villain called the Spot, who he kind of blows off and thinks isn't that big a deal. And then turns out he becomes a big deal, and it turns out there is this multiverse of spider people who are from all these different dimensions who are kind of coming together to try to fight Spot and kind of keep him from destroying the multiverse. Basically, his superpower is that he has like wormholes on his body and he can like reach through different places in the same universe through like portals, or he can move to different universes through those portals. But basically, like it's very similar to Into the Spider-Verse. You know, there's a lot of random Spider-Men from different universes coming in, some of which are interesting and some of which are less so. Oscar Isaac plays kind of the head Spider-Man who is kind of running this group of multiverse traveling spider people and sending them on missions to make sure that the multiverse stays stable. It's a little bit too meta for my taste. John, you were talking about in our Tropic Thunder episode how you really like meta movies. It can be a little bit much for me. It depends. Like sometimes I think it works really well, and sometimes I think getting too meta feels like the movie crawling up its own asshole a little bit. And in this case, it's really flirting with that line. Like it didn't bother me too much, but like they talk about canon and different things like that, which like makes me kind of roll my eyes. But at the end of the day, this is a movie that looks incredible. I saw it in IMAX and I was just there for it the whole time, ready to get into everything that was going on. And really the main kind of criticism I had of it is that it just kind of ends like it's just the setup for the third movie. Like they basically, wrote one script that was too long and had to cut it in half, and the movie just kind of ends in a unsatisfactory point. And I was like, well, all right, I guess I'll watch the next one. I was going to do that anyway, but I guess I got to watch the next one now to see where this goes. But overall, it's a hell of a ride. It's really fun. It's so much more creative and visually stimulating than any mass-produced movie that is coming out right now, aside from like John Wick, maybe. But yeah, I had a really good time with it. Thought it was a fun watch. I'm sure that both of you guys will probably go see it. But yeah, would recommend Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
When we went to see Fast 10, Fast
Mhm.
X, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Which, by the way, I thought that was your favorite superhero movie. That the Fast series contained that. You did not mention.
I did.
all.
I mean, like, I guess let me qualify comic book movie. The best superhero movie is either Fast 5 or Furious 7.
Yes,
They're both very good.
of course.
But yeah,
yeah. When we went to see Fast X, we saw the trailer for. It's not. It's Across the
Across the
Spider-Verse,
Spider-Verse.
not Into.
Yeah, I
Those
was
names are
very
too
skeptical
I
about
know.
the
Yeah.
trailer.
Just every
Um,
time I've seen the trailer, I've been like, "You're giving away all the good shit. You're giving away like gags. You're giving away fun, whatever you want to do." It just seems like too much.
Also, the stuff they do in the trailer is like eye-rollingly meta and stupid. It's like the parts where they do the Spider-Man pointing meme, where there's like a million Spider-Man all pointing
Get
at
that
each other.
Spider-Man, and they're
I'm just
like,
like,
"You."
oh my god, are
Yeah.
you serious? Like, yeah, I was worried when I saw the trailer. It's much
Yeah.
better than the trailer is bad. Like, it's just a poorly cut trailer that is just trying to throw out cultural references.
Yep.
And yeah, it's not representative of what the movie is actually like to watch.
Well, good.
So
That's
weird,
good to know.
weird aside on that, because
Yeah.
it's good to stop and talk about that trailer because it does also bring up the like balance that you mentioned of trying to reference a bunch of stuff and pull a bunch of things in
Yep.
that only some diehard comic fans know, and that is exactly what that trailer was. Yes, I paused it multiple times to see things in that trailer, and I'm sure other people did
The-
too. But to pull in, like to pull the Michael Dixon in to come watch it, not the parent who's just dragging their kids to every movie they can possibly watch with the whole family, or comic book fans. Like it's weird to make that try to appeal so much to an audience that's already fucking going.
Yeah. They're
Right.
already in.
Yeah.
Unless it's trying to like
weird
hype
choice.
to like create like big hype, like they know those are the people that'll talk about it.
Maybe I don't know. Like really, like if I had seen that trailer and I didn't like it, it wasn't a sequel to a movie that I already really liked, I would have been like, nope, that looks terrible. I'm not going to see that. But because I liked Into the Spider-Verse so much, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go see this, even though the trailer looks terrible, to just give them the benefit of the doubt and see where this goes. Like, if anything, it should be visually stimulating, and you know that should be enough to at least give me something to take away from it.
Yeah. And to that degree too, like even if it was because that crowd is the crowd that's going to generate the most hype and you're going to see something about it. Considering we just talked about how Tropic Thunder is a movie that we all have collectively not watched in a long time because there's kind of that factor of you saw it was good enough in theaters. Then after that, it became ubiquitous and everybody just quoted it to death. Like somebody telling me, oh man, I'm going to watch that new Spider-Verse movie. It's so funny. Like I can imagine myself at like a family retreat or something. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, that one scene, see, they have all these Spider-Mans and they're like, get Spider-Man. And they're like, you. And I'm like, I would just be like, I'm fucking out. Like immediately, I do not give a shit about what you're saying to me. I'll like let you finish because I'm drunk enough, but like go on. And then I'll just not go see it. But because I watched Into the Spider-Verse, I was like curious, no matter what, gotta be a visual feast. At least there's something here. I'm glad to hear that it's more than the trailer made it. That's great.
Yeah, definitely. I was very pleasantly surprised by it. And it was I saw it on Sunday and it was getting great reviews when it, so I was like, okay, like the trailer sucked, but I was going to go see it anyway. And it's getting good reviews. Like I'll go give it a shot here. And yeah, definitely glad I did. So some of the new characters that are fun. Issa Rae plays like a pregnant Spider Woman who still kicks ass despite being pregnant, which is cool. Daniel Kaluuya plays like a British punk rock Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, hell yeah,
who's pretty awesome. Like so, there's some good side characters in this one, but I did really miss Noir Spider-Man.
I know you miss Nick Cage.
Yeah,
he'll be back in the third one or the part 2 or whatever. I'm sure.
It does look like he may be back in the third one.
Oh, yeah. They're going to get everybody together for the end game of the Spider-Verse. I hope there's no more after it.
My mind is blown that fucking Polka Dot Man and The Spot and Kite Man are in things now. Like,
are they all like, are those the D-list villains of comic books?
I was like, I super fucking love The Spot because when I was a kid, I bought comics, but I bought what I could get. Like it was just, I had some free pocket change and I got something because I had it. And the Spectacular Spider-Man that had The Spot, I just fucking loved the cover on it. And I read that thing a million times for that stupid character who like at the time, like disappeared for a while and he's come back in comics like a little bit since then. But just the comic cover of like all these different holes with the Spot's hands like coming out and punching Spider-Man. There's nothing you could do about it. It's so stupid. And then even at the time I knew it was stupid, but it just captured my attention.
It makes for some good visual gags in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Brian Tyree Henry is very good as Spider-Man's father. Like I think Brian Tyree Henry is always really great in everything. And he's very good in this. One thing that I thought was hilarious is that in the first movie, he was credited as Jefferson Davis. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? You named this character after the Confederate president, and also his son's name is Miles Morales. So I don't know what the hell you're doing with that. And then in Across the Spider-Verse, he's credited as Jeff Morales. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing with that character's name, but
Yeah.
like he's a well-written character, and Brian Tyree Henry plays him very well. But I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't even know. Ryan, do you have comic book context on that?
I mean, that is his character name in the comics. He is
Jefferson. It's
Davis.
Jefferson Davis.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just had to change it for this one.
He just gave his son his wife's name.
They knew you would catch on.
I'm trying to remember if I wasn't as into what was that, whatever that fucking Ultimate Universe was. I only got into Miles Morales later when he became interesting, separate from that universe. So I don't remember what all the deals are with his parentage.
Yeah.
Well, was there anything else that kind of caught you off guard that you didn't expect the movie to explore beyond? Because to me, it looks like it's good enough. Like the moment I saw the trailer, I thought the trailer was bad, but I was also like, the movie's probably going to be good, but not as great as the first one was, kind of thing. But was there anything that you were surprised by?
Not really. I think I guess I was just surprised because the trailer was so bad that I liked it as much as I did, but it wasn't as good as the first one, but it was close. And I think that's pretty good for the sequel to pull off. Again, I thought it was a little too meta and a little up its own ass to some degree, but it does a good job with Miles as a character and kind of developing his story and moving him forward. And like that does a lot for the movie, right? So, I mean, overall, I definitely recommend it. But it's also something that like I had a great time watching it in IMAX. I don't know that I'll watch it again, but it was a really good time to watch it one time and just see the incredible visuals. And maybe I'll watch it again as a refresh before the next one comes out. But probably like the Into the Spider-Verse, I'll definitely go back to again. I don't know if I will with Across the Spider-Verse, but that doesn't mean that it's not 100% worth going to see, and it's just a very good time at the theater.
The in-universe answer is that he was named Jefferson Davis, and he thought that was some bullshit. So when he had the opportunity, he changed his name.
Jeff
Oh,
Morales?
So
Nice.
he purposely took on Morales and didn't want to. Yeah, so he could be like,
That's
yeah,
kind of
fuck that
nice. I
Confederate.
like that as a
Yeah.
subversion of him
Yeah.
just being like, man, fuck this name.
I
Jeff
wish they had
Morales.
actually said that in the movie instead of just changing his name in the credits in the first movie to the second movie.
Yeah, a little line of
Uh.
dialogue of like, I'm glad I was able to take your last name to his wife or whatever.
Yeah.
Something. Well. Cool. Well, I bet you're just dying to know what I'm bringing.
What schlock
list.
did you watch this week, John? What are you punishing us with?
Well, I watched a 1988 Spanish horror film called Don't Panic.
Promise never to play with the Ouija board again.
Hey, you guys. Maybe he's right. We shouldn't play this game.
Yesterday night, Debbie White, a high school student, was murdered in her own home. The murder was committed between midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning. Her body was stabbed 13 times.
I'm not crazy! I'm not crazy! You're gonna tell me how the fuck you knew someone was gonna kill Chris?
Open the door, Michael. Michael!
Officer, you gotta help me. They're trying to kill someone in the lab.
Central, I've got our man. I'm at checkpoint 2.
I had a vision, man. That's what I tried to warn you about. I tried to help her. Who the fuck is gonna save you now?
And this is
Like
directed
from Spain?
by, it's not from Spain, but it was done by like a Spanish director in Mexico.
Okay.
And it was Ruben Galindo Jr. is the director. It's basically the proto-Malignant, if I had to say it was something like that. It's kind of fascinating. So the premise is on his 17th birthday, this boy, Michael, is surprised by his friends in Mexico City. He's moved there from America. Everybody in this cast, by the way, it clearly speaks Spanish and as their native and primary language, and is doing like an English accent to ADR it. In my opinion anyway, because it's at some points like the accent just breaks through hard. But Michael, on his 17th birthday, his friends break into his house to surprise him by playing with a Ouija board, or a spirit board, whatever you want to call it. And they accidentally summon a demon that possesses one of the friends and starts murdering people close to him. And the real gimmick here is that anytime somebody's about to be murdered, Michael gets the vision of the murderer. Like, he can see what they're going to do, and they're going to, stalk up on this person. And so there are scenes that are meant to be horrifying that are actively comical, because you have somebody who's supposed to be 17 and wears like children's pajamas that all have like dinosaurs on them, who is frantically running through the streets of Mexico City, blind because he can only see through the killer's eyes. And so he's like just brailing his way to try to save somebody, like feeling anything near him. And the actor clearly is trying to like really push that to the limit. It doesn't seem like a realistic I'm feeling my way. They always seem to know exactly which direction they're going. And the whole film is around him trying to figure out which of my friends is the killer. So it's got this giallo aspect to it. And at some point that's like revealed and becomes more of like okay, now it's just the supernatural aspect you're latching onto. It's weird because it was marketed as being a Nightmare on Elm Street competitor. So there's this whole aspect of it being like, oh, it's like a bonkers version of Nightmare on Elm Street where Freddy is technically like more of a demon that possesses people and does these things with them. I enjoyed it. I had a really good time with it. I watched it with a group of friends who we just sat through, and everybody was really engaged. I think afterwards the consensus was it was good for like one watch. People would not go back to it, but it was interesting enough, and it had a lot of weird. It also has one of the worst outrage scenes. You think of like Citizen Kane, or what, like Apocalypse Now, which I still haven't seen, but I know that sequence where somebody breaks down and they're like fucking trash in the
just
room.
go fucking watch Apocalypse Now. Just
Maybe
get out
I
of here.
will. I watched Tropic Thunder without watching it. It was a waste, apparently. But yeah, like this sequence, there's like a whole scene where the main character, his mom, is convinced that he's crazy. She's not willing to believe that he's seeing through the eyes of a murderer, even though his friends are dying one by one. And he just has a whole freak out in his room where the most damage he does is he throws a laundry basket at like a Playboy poster, and he knocks a bunch of pencils on the ground, and they play it up as being like the most epic I'm angry scene. He tears a bunch of car posters in half, and that's like it.
It sounds like The Room.
Yeah, it's basically, it's way more towards The Room. I would say it's even more pathetic than The Room sequences.
Oh, wow. That's saying a lot, John.
Yeah, it is. It's just like, and he does it in his dinosaur pajamas. It's like even funnier. It's way less like grounded.
Oh my God. Does he say you're tearing me apart?
He might as well. But he says, I'm not crazy.
I'm not crazy! I'm not crazy!
And he says it in like a Ren and Stimpy kind of voice.
You're fat, bloated, stupid, idiot.
It's like absurd. Yeah, like the death sequences are really creative. There's a lot of interesting horror elements to it. None of it is particularly scary, but I was still compelled by it. I found it really interesting, and my friends did as well, even though they're not big on watching those kinds of movies. This was definitely one that, like, I brought a few other Blu-rays, but none of them seemed to work when we were trying to watch them. So they were like, fuck it, we'll just watch whatever this is. And it worked. They had a good time. And the day after, they were talking about it, and they were still like reflecting on different scenes. And I was also able to get in on that. So it had a lasting effect, I would say. And just interesting. Like, they had cool prosthetics at times. They had not unbelievable as like the, wow, I can't believe they did that. But like, that doesn't look real at all kind of prosthetics.
Yeah.
But they tried, and some of the sequences are really good. I enjoyed mostly the main character acting like he was blind and running through different places, feeling everything. It was comical in its own way and entertaining, but yeah, none of it's scary at all.
We talking more or less realistic than Ben Stiller's blown up hands in Tropic Thunder?
We're talking a little more, aiming to be a little more realistic than that, but still coming off as like a little too like corn syrupy. it's just corn syrup, blood flavored corn syrup, kind of practical effects. Yeah, like the main friend that is possessed, when you actually get to see him, he just looks like a dude that has a little bit too much makeup on his face, and that's how they distinguish he's possessed by a demon.
Sure. Yep.
Why wouldn't you? They had some squibs, like some people get shot and they explode, and I was like, that's impressive. It's good that you were able to get squibs at least to do this. And there's some other, like, I can't even remember some of the other scenes. I just remember the main character runs through a hospital trying to save a person, and he runs into a guy, and the guy's like, hold on, what's going on here? And at this point, he slips into like full Ren from Ren and Stimpy. And he's like, you have to help Christy. She's in danger. And then he immediately slips back into like his American accent where he's like, she's going to be murdered. Like, what the fuck just happened? And then he starts feeling his way up the stairs. This like super goofy shit. So yeah, Don't Panic. It also has a killer theme song, which just
sing
sings,
it.
It's like, don't panic. That's like all it does. and then it recites the plot to you, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
What's one of those? Okay. Can we get the rights to that one too? I'll see.
Yeah.
Better or worse than Death Promise?
It's just as catchy as Death Promise,
Wow.
actually. I would say it's on that. It's
All
on
right.
par. It's pretty good.
Okay.
I would say at least Don't Panic is a really solid hook for it. I don't know about anything else. So it was fun. If you're going to watch, okay, I would recommend this movie, first of all, just because
Now
seemed
the
like everybody had a great
qualifiers are
time.
coming.
Yeah. I would recommend it. Seems like a great time. If you have a choice between watching this and Malignant, I would recommend watching this over Malignant, because Malignant is, what was it,
man.
Ryan? Is it like
Oh,
2
man.
hours of setup for like 15 to 20 minutes of payoff?
Of amazing payoff.
And then characters say shit that just, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, oh, wow, I can't believe that you wouldn't do like vodka and do a Ouija board game on your birthday night. That's like a tradition. Like, there's shit like that where you're like, that doesn't make, I don't know why that's a thing. So that over Malignant, sort of, it's a Hollywoodized version of this is what I would call it. I don't know. I found it more interesting, more engaging, more creative, and I liked it overall. My friends seem to be okay with it, so I would recommend it.
Okay. Your friends did not hate it.
That's right. They didn't hate it, and they didn't ask John, why did you show us that? They just said, wow, that was a real movie. Like, that was something that happens.
This is from your Vinegar Syndrome subscription, I assume.
It is. It is indeed. Someday I will bring another movie that, well, I brought Knocking. Knocking wasn't from Vinegar Syndrome. It was just facilitated by them, but
Oh, so it was from them.
it was from their partner label. I'll say that.
Tomato, John.
Hey, you bought a Claire Denis film from them. I'll just say that.
I did.
If you're applying that same logic.
I'll buy a Claire Denis film, whoever puts it out.
There we go.
I'll email the Don't Panic song producers and see if they'll actually email me back. I'm looking at you, Death
Yeah, are
Promise.
we gonna get that as? I don't know when we would
Our
use
new-
that
our
song,
new
but
theme
it'd be
song.
great.
If we owned it, we'd use it.
Yes, that's right.
Again, we don't need to email the Death Promise people and get their permission. Just use it.
They don't. Yeah.
At most,
They're-
at most, we get sued. What are we gonna have to pay? $10?
Then we know who it is. Yeah.
It's just a lawsuit, Michael. What could it cost? $10?
Exactly.
Yes. They're probably less litigious than Scientology. Solved. Cool. I have a movie to talk about, but I'm taking a momentary aside to mention movie going experience. I didn't go see a movie, but I have an experience of movie going experience. Getting
What?
back into theaters, it's interesting, like dealing with having the crowds and having all of that. And only the fact that I only go to like 5 movies a year or whatever, it gets frustrating sometimes dealing with the crowd. Luckily, by me, no one appears to go to any movies, even like opening weekend, just the area I'm in, no one's there. But we were in Vegas and went and
That's
saw a
sad.
Cirque du Soleil show. Yeah, we saw a Cirque du Soleil show, and I immediately told my children before it even started, I was like, look, don't ask what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Nobody here knows what's going on. Just watch it and experience it. Don't ask. But the guy behind me who brought his far too young for a Cirque du Soleil show did not have that conversation. And this kid, like, I was trying so hard to not just turn around and be like, look, tell him to shut up. I can't take it
For the
because
love
it was
of
just a
God.
constant like, yes, who is that? Why are they doing that? whatever, like just constantly. And I was like, and he
They're fucking acrobats. They're doing flips and shit.
Yes,
Just
dude.
watch it.
What did my father regress to a younger age and join you in the
Yeah,
movie?
exactly.
in the show?
Right, exactly. Yeah, but it just it ruined it, almost nearly ruined it. Um, so yeah, luckily no one was doing that at the Katy Perry show. I guess it wasn't as confusing for that audience.
Who is that?
So would it, would I? Yeah, they don't even know who she is. So that'd be great. What I do want to talk about is I watched Milk, 2008 Milk, about Harvey Milk, starring Sean Penn.
My name is Harvey Milk, and I'm here to recruit you.
If homosexuals are allowed their civil rights, then so would prostitutes or thieves or anyone else.
40 years old, and I haven't done a thing.
I'm not going to be forced out of San Francisco by social deviants and incorrigibles.
We need one of our own in office. We could have a revolution here.
I don't do losing. There she is, our new campaign manager.
You all scared of girls?
You'll be the first openly gay man elected to major office.
It's like you're part of the machine now.
Society can't exist without the family.
We're not against that.
Can two men reproduce?
No, but God knows we keep trying.
If these people are going to live a life of such open homosexuality, they are going to be removed from their jobs.
If we're going to beat this thing, we need everyone.
We lose this, we'll have anti-gay laws in all 50 states.
I picked it as a timely movie for this month. Also came out the same year as Tropic Thunder, and was Sean Penn figuring out what to go full whatever to get an Oscar. um, which this, it feels like, honestly does feel a bit of an Oscar bait kind of movie. Like it definitely fits that formula. But I recommend it. Gus Van Zant's a thing. Well, we talked separately about when Gus Van Sant works and when he doesn't. I think it's fine here. But Sean Penn's performance of Harvey Milk is amazing. Like that really, really carries it through. I think also kind of getting the right feel for the movement, some of the people that are in it, the events around Milk's assassination is very timely still. It's very much a similar time, I feel like, right now to what was going on that led to Harvey Milk becoming the first openly gay politician. That it the other parts of the movie that I'm kind of like, the side characters who are real people don't really get any time. It is all so directly on Milk. It also really just focuses on it sort of as this movement and a few specifics, but not really any of the other victories or other things that Milk did. Kind of the movie doesn't necessarily have time for those. So those are the only like kind of knocks, but it still comes out as like such an excellent movie. I feel like it to me, the quality of an art piece is pulling out emotion from someone, like getting something that sticks with you afterwards, whatever the emotion is, whether that's what they want from you or not. That's what makes it art. And this definitely, I feel like, pulls all those right things to get what it wants to get across, represent Milk properly, represent the movement. And yeah, I was definitely like gripped and stunned, and it is really carried by Sean Penn, who again, I'm like another person where I'm like hit or miss with Sean Penn. Sometimes he does put himself fully into a character and it's amazing, and sometimes he puts himself fully in a character and it's not amazing. It's the other way around. This is one of those where he nails it, like he nails the performance, and it's really excellent. Josh Brolin also is in it, and he ended up getting nominated for his role. It's more subtle as a character, but good. I did feel like Brolin kind of got across some pretty interesting things when you kind of like think about it and try to get what the character is for someone who his defense is the Twinkie defense or whatever that has been lampooned and maybe misunderstood, that his argument for why he wasn't guilty of assassination, guilty of murder, was that he was eating too many junk food and it screwed with him, is the story that you still hear, but in reality is more of like he had a breakdown and among many things, and him eating Twinkies was supposedly proof from his defense that he had a mental breakdown, and that's why it excused his
No
murder.
sane person
Um,
would ever eat
Yeah, would eat
Twinkies.
Whatever
that
eat
many
Twinkies,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Um, that they don't get into that in the movie, like which I appreciate. But his like potential breakdown and the why things unravel for him isn't there as much because this is like so focused on just specifically milk. But I feel like it's done so well and he's represented so well that it's worth it as the weight of the movie, and then kind of leaves you with, hey, go explore these other tangents, learn more about these other people and the other things and the events.
Mm.
Um, so it's a very heavy recommend. Like I really, really did enjoy. I had not watched it before. I really did enjoy it, and there were aspects of it that I didn't know the history of that I also think were really good.
Yeah, that sounds like opposite too. For some reason, when I think about, because I haven't seen Milk, I have not seen it. I know that it had some Academy buzz around it. I never really stopped to really watch it, but it sounds like something that I would genuinely engage with from a biographical standpoint. It sounds really respectful in how it represents its material. It doesn't sound like something that is, while it has politics behind it and it has sort of a story to tell around it, it doesn't sound like something like the trial of the Chicago Seven, where it's more of like a mouthpiece for a writer to do something. It sounds like an actual experience you can connect with, like these are human beings that did these things, and here's this kind of story that happened with it, and it can get you engaged and interested to actually dig back into what it was about.
Yeah, so Van Zant's interesting, and I think the way he thinks about things, which are a little too on the nose, actually play well to a period piece historical movie like this.
Mm.
Because from a filming perspective, they film in San Francisco, they film in the Market District, they actually film in the actual storefront that was Milk's camera storefront. They redid it to look like that. They actually film in the apartment building that was Milk's apartment.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Right. They're
They went all the
actually
way.
at at the city capitol. So and not only that, they have some cameos from some of the people who are involved and around the events at the time, and had them on set or even had the characters get to talk and meet with the people that they were representing. And they went for like 100%. Like at the end, they kind of like take a photo. They do the transition from like the actor to the photo, and they just literally nailed it. Like that's what they went for, was
Nice.
like, how can we get everything the same shirt, the same color, the same glasses, get their hair to look exact? Like we want people that are exactly that person.
Mm.
And it works. I will say it works for this, and that is a good way to be as representational of the reality as possible. Um, so that I think works in its favor.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm always skeptical of these types of Oscar bait biopics that come out every November, that are just trying to get awards and feel very empty and formulaic, but they always get the same types of people to get really excited about them, and you know, they'll make their budget back and they'll get nominated for a bunch of awards. And typically I tend to shy away from those types of things. Sometimes I'll like them, but this sounds, from what you're describing, a lot more interesting to me. And I've never watched this movie because I just assumed it was that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to check it out now. It sounds like, and I do like the thing you're talking about where they show the real person. I always kind of roll my eyes at that, like, the credits, like, oh, here's the real guy and here's the actor.
Here's how close
that,
we got the casting.
yeah, that always kind of bothers me, but it does sound like a really interesting story that is worth telling, that kind of has more to say than your traditional biopic, at least from what you're describing. That's what that sounds like to me. So I definitely want to check this out at some point. I've seen some of Gus Van Sant's work. I haven't seen most of it, but he made a small independent movie with Joaquin Phoenix and Jonah Hill a few years ago called "Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot" that I really enjoyed. And I know that like he made that Psycho remake and stuff that people don't like and haven't gone over well. But I'm interested to kind of see more of his work because I really did like that movie from a few years ago.
In comparing it, though, you brought up the Psycho movie.
I did.
The
I
the
haven't
problem
seen
with
it. I don't
this,
plan on it.
oh, okay,
But
don't
yeah,
don't. The problem is he makes the Psycho movie. Like that's
right.
it. He
Yeah,
brings absolutely nothing else to it, and he is so perfectly recapturing exactly it, other than it being in color. There's nothing that's changed,
which seems like
and
that
the
would just make it
actors.
worse,
It
right?
does. It
Like,
absolutely
yeah,
does.
like why would you want to make that movie in color?
Right,
Like,
because then it's
yeah.
like, okay, well, he's just copying the shots, right? So he's not adding anything as a director,
Hmm.
right? They film it exactly the same way, so there's no new set cinematography decisions, anything. The lines are the same. The actors, they get as close as they can, right? So weirdly, I do think that works for a biopic, for a certain type of
To some
biopic
degree,
that it
yeah.
doesn't. Yeah,
Depends on it.
in this, I do appreciate this is typically I kind of think when I see those Beatty ones, what often concerns me is they will fail to represent certain things, or they want to lean
Yep.
so heavy to be like, oh, this is this great story or great person or whatever that I want to tell, that I'll ignore some things I really should mention, or they kind of like combine some characters into something to make it a little bit better. There really wasn't anything here where I'm like that looking at it, there's like, oh well, that person was actually these two separate people, or they didn't even exist, or whatever. Um, it pretty much stays right on the nose. I'm looking at like The Woman King as an example of like we just sort of ignore some history so we can just give you the good part and act
Sure,
like
yeah.
they're only good guys. And I'm like, that's a great movie, but it is like not a historical movie per se, right? To the side.
Mhm.
On the far side of it, like doing something interesting and not doing it, The Last King of Scotland is an excellent biopic that gives you absolutely everything and completely makes up shit.
I've
But it's
wanted to see that movie.
amazing. Yeah, it
Uh,
is amazing. That's like one of the like my best. Like that's an amazing biopic that is doing something interesting in giving you everything you need to know.
I want to do an episode on biopics because there's so much in terms of how biopics are done that I just don't think that people think about it regularly. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not a huge fan of them. I love trashy ones. Why not? I'm a schlock guy.
Mhm.
I enjoy watching Ashton Kutcher try to be Steve Jobs. That's funny to me. But
I got
but-
everything I needed from the trailer of that. It's like I'm not watching that movie.
I've seen that movie like 5 times.
John,
it never
again,
gets old.
What is wrong with you?
It
This is
never
an
gets old.
intervention. You're destroying your soul bit by bit.
I find it fun to watch that kind of movie because
5 times?
it's so good. It's so good and how not great it is. And then you go watch like the Fassbender one and it's so much
That
better.
one's not great either.
It's
but
not great, but it's so much
But it's
better
actually
in terms
so- yeah.
of what it tries to do. And I'm like, all right.
I remember one moment from that trailer that I will forever be etched in my mind where like I always hate in biopics where they have the here's how we came up with the name for the thing scenes.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's Ashton Kutcher like sitting in the back of a car.
If we're gonna do this thing, we need to come up with a name. Something.
Yeah, I know.
Something catchy. Something.
I've been thinking about it.
Talking to whoever the fuck plays Wozniak.
Electric.
This needs to be like, I don't know.
Yeah, what about enterprise computers?
No.
And they're like, how do we,
It's Josh
what
Gad.
would we even call this company? And Kutcher's like,
Apple.
Excuse me. Apple, like the fruit?
what about Apple? I was like, oh my God. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. What is this?
There's a great, you might hate that whole movie, but there's a GIF I'll send you that I think you'd love where this is way tangential, but it's when Steve Jobs is like denying that his love child is going to be born or whatever. And his lover is like, it's your baby. And he just says, Kutcher says right into the camera, he's like,
I'm sorry you have a problem, but it's not happening to me.
and I'm like,
Wow.
that's a fantastic meme and that's a terrible person. But like, I fucking send that GIF on the regular to people who send me emails about shit I should do. I'm like, fuck it, sorry that you have a problem. Yeah, the rest of that movie's fucking trash. But I don't know what it is. I gravitate towards trash, man. You know me. I'm a human trash panda.
Yeah, we know.
All too well.
I gotta cover what y'all won't. Obviously, I guess I do. I don't know.
Whatever fig leaf excuse you need, John.
It's a civic duty. But yeah, I do want to see Milk. It does sound. It doesn't sound like my usual biopic trash that I would. But let me draw the line here. I've never seen Green Book. Okay, and I won't watch it.
It's very bad. Yeah. And honestly, one of the other things that's held me back from watching Milk is that, like, I feel like I've very rarely actually seen a good Sean Penn performance. Like, aside from Tree of Life,
I was going to say that.
I don't know if I can even put my finger on a single good Sean Penn performance that I've seen. And I know
Times
that
at Ridgemont High.
I haven't seen that actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure if that's disappearing into a character or what Sean Penn was like before he got into acting.
A Jeff Bridges of high school dramas.
But I mean, obviously I know that he has done roles that have got him a lot of acclaim, and I thought he was good enough in Tree of Life because he didn't really have to say that much, right? He was just kind of there, and like Malick is doing his own thing with kind of having him in the frame. But he's just done so much bad work over the last decade that it's just made me not want to go back and discover his earlier career.
What's the matter, Dixon? You didn't like I Am Sam? Give it his all.
He did. He gave it his all.
All right. Well, that brings us full circle.
Yes, it does.
To a wrap. So it sounds like we had recommends all around. John's, there's a questionable recommend.
Hey, mine's a recommend.
Yeah. So Dixon says, good, maybe not as good as Into the Spider-Verse, but Spider-Man
across the Spider-Verse.
Man across the verse.
Yeah. You can't change one word in your title for the sequel. I think that's too, unless you're just sticking a number at the end, so it's
at
obvious.
the end of the movie. At the end of the movie, I waited till the end of the credits because the first movie had a post-credit sequence that I didn't realize until I was watching it again at home the other day and went to the bathroom when the credits played and came back and I was like, oh, there was a post-credit sequence and I never knew that.
Is that when Gwen calls him or whatever?
No, they introduced Oscar Isaac's character.
That's
at
right.
the end of the first one.
Yeah.
I had no idea that they did that. And then, so I sat around through all the fucking credits of Across the Spider-Verse, and at the end, there's no post-credit sequence, but it just says, Miles Morales will return in Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Charles Bronson will return as Miles Morales in.
I thought it was like a James Bond spoof they were going for there, but yeah.
Wow,
So again, they're just changing that word. That's it.
Okay.
It's every movie. It's just Into, Across, and Beyond. Those are the three movies. Yeah.
Spider-Man.
This is like the fucking yes. This is like the Far From Home Homecoming bullshit where I can't tell what order which one was in.
No Way Home. Yeah,
all right,
that was it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Anyway, I guess
names
that's
are stupid.
Studio names are stupid.
John gave us a recommend on Don't Panic worth a watch. Yes,
Don't
worth a watch.
Panic. Yeah.
Yes, and I highly recommend Milk. Death Promise. Don't panic.
It's the same key.
They're the same key and the same beat.
That's probably why I like the theme song.
I'm going to blow your mind.
Yeah. And yeah.
So yeah, we'll call this before we go too far on too many new tangents.
And Ryan recommended Milk.
Yes, and I highly recommend Milk. Yeah. So I've been your host, Ryan King. With me,
John Garcia. Everybody, don't panic. All right, it's just schlock. Don't panic. Watch it.
He's gonna go crawl back into his trash can. And also we have
Michael Dixon. Thanks for putting up with our bullshit.
Hey there, movie buffs, TV toughs, and all listeners in between. John here from the Afterthoughts podcast. I just wanted to drop in at the end of this episode and say thanks for listening. If you've got afterthoughts of your own to share, hit us up. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Afterpod, or jump into a conversation on our Discord server. You can find info for this and more at theafterpod.transistor.fm. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.